Hello and welcome. If you are into audio recording on your computer, you might have come across a problem when you have multiple audio interfaces based on USB or Firewire or something like that, and you are not able to use those combined on a Windows computer. There have been workarounds like ASIO for All, free solution, a free app which tries to aggregate audio devices. There are also solutions like audio over IP, solutions like Dante, but they will not allow you easily to combine audio devices for your DAW, for instance, and use all inputs and outputs simultaneously. I don't normally have that problem so much because I am using Dante in my studio, in my recording studio, and I have a hardware PCIe Dante card with a lot of inputs and outputs simultaneously, and I'm also using Dante Virtual Sound Card on the same computer, and that helps to aggregate a lot of audio signals from my devices in the computer, but there's still problems aggregating things like an external USB keyboard's audio and Windows audio and make it available inside the DAW, for instance. I'm using Reaper, by the way. So a solution that seems to be the perfect one, actually, which I came across lately, is this software called VB Audio Matrix Coconut. This is the website, and this app in this app you can activate virtual audio devices which reflect your real physical audio devices, and then it allows you to route audio between them. And it has a section which takes care of ASIO devices, which are known to have low latency and high resolution. And then there's a section of multiple enableable, I don't know if this word exists. Well, you can enable multiple Windows audio devices like MME or WDM devices. Then it has its own virtual audio devices which can be enabled. Always a few of them, and you can enable the number of devices which you need to cover your amount of channels, for instance. Then there is a VBAN section. VBAN is VB Audio's proprietary network audio standard, it seems. I only read a little about it, but it seems to be an open source audio over IP protocol. And so you can have computers exchange audio via LAN, multiple tracks at the same time, multiple channels. So those can be enabled and disabled here. And then finally we have virtual audio devices, which are enabled to actually aggregate all of your physical ones. So for instance, if you have a real physical audio interface which delivers like 24 inputs and outputs, and you have another 8-channel USB audio device, and then there's Windows audio stuff from the operating system, you would pick a virtual audio device and enable it, which can aggregate all of these physical ones. So it must have at least the number of audio channels inputs and outputs that you physically want to combine. And then actually you pick that virtual device as your DAW's main audio device. And from there you will have all the aggregated audio channels available in your audio software and can route between them. And the interesting thing is that audio devices can be aggregated even though they don't have matching sample rates, because this matrix is capable of doing sample rate conversion between devices like some devices which are running at 44.1 kilohertz and have no means to be clocked externally and run as a sample rate follower. Even those devices can be aggregated with other ones which run at 48 kilohertz. Either you pick one of the physical devices to be your master clock provider, or you can choose the Matrix software itself to act as a sample rate, as a clock master for your entire audio configuration. So let's see it in action. I have it installed. It's shareware. So to run it past its 30-day trial period, you have to buy a license according to your usage. And well, it starts at $10 plus taxes, and it goes up to professional use and to a good deal of support for the team behind it. I have been using it regularly, so I now recently purchased the P3 license, which entitles you to use it even in a professional context. And the notes are telling me that from time to time, the Matrix will prompt you to renew your license. And if this is the case, you can decline and keep using it with your existing license. But you can also continue supporting this team by even using the lowest license to renew. So it will then obviously be quite a lot cheaper. Then you don't have to renew the same license type again. But obviously you can do so if you desire to do it. And I think it's something extraordinary, actually. So I am running a professional recording studio with multiple recording rooms and a control room. And it's based on audio networking, Dante networking. And still, I can benefit from this software because it can aggregate Dante-based and then therefore network-based stuff with other stuff like USB stuff, which is not so easily combined with Dante, for instance. So let's see what it's like. So I have the Matrix installed here, and it looks intimidating, but it's actually fairly easy to use. So first thing is you will be going into this physical ASIO devices section, which is this one, and you have a set of ASIO devices which can be activated according to the channel count of that device. So it can be a device, an ASIO device, with up to 512 inputs and outputs. Mine is the AIC 128D, a PCIe Dante accelerator card from Yamaha. And I had used that as my main audio device in Reaper for several years, and it worked fine. So I got 128 network audio inputs and outputs. That is a lot, but I still had difficulties to integrate non-Dante stuff into this network, even though I have some ADAT to Dante bridging devices. So you right-click an entry, like some entry which had not yet been enabled, and go to Open ASIO Device Selector, and then you get all your installed ASIO devices, and you can pick the one you want to have managed by this app. And well, that's how I picked my Dante device, so which has 128 inputs. So I picked the exact matching ASIO device proposed by the Matrix. If you don't find a device which has exactly the number of ins and outs, you just pick the one which is covering this amount of inputs and outputs. So you might even use an ASIO 256 channels device if your device doesn't provide that many ins and outs. It will still work. The other integrated or connected audio device, which is ASIO capable, is my RME Babyface. And since there is now no smaller device, I picked the ASIO 64B device for it. And so it will now occupy the 64 channel slot here, one of those, there are several, with only its restricted and limited number of ins and outs, but that's perfectly fine for my needs. So automatically you see the 10 ins and 10 outs of an RME Babyface. You can tweak latencies in the menu, and if you go to settings here, there's not a lot to configure actually. I have it run on Windows Startup and go to the system tray. That's essentially all I needed to set up. And I think I tweaked latencies, which you can also tweak, global latencies, and set them to lower values, which still don't give me any audio glitches. So I decided to have the AIC PCIe card be my clock master, because it is also the clock master in the Dante network. So you right-click a device and can set it to be the master clock. So you could do that here. Click on device master and it would become the clock master of your entire system. For an external device, that's not probably the way to go, because it may not always be connected and stuff like that. So your clock master will be missing. The internal PCIe card is always there, present. So I think it's a smart idea to make it the clock master. Also because it's has the Dante-driven clocking, which is known to be very precise. And the last physical audio device, which is ASIO capable, which shows up in my list, which is even usable, was my Yamaha stage piano. And the interesting thing is, so it delivers, it's connected via USB, and it has 2 inputs and 2 outputs. But as you can see, it runs at a differing sample rate. And this is normally a problem. You cannot connect devices which have no matching sample rate. But this app is capable of resampling sources, devices, entire devices, which is quite astonishing. And so this is still now usable, and you can route signals to and from it because sample rate is converted on the fly. And from all I've heard, it sounds pristine, and I don't worry about having any quality issues with this. So if I hit my keyboard, actually, oh, interesting, we don't see any signal coming up. Actually, we do see some activity, but that's due to me talking, and the mic is connected to my digital studio console, and then from there it travels into the Dante system, the Dante network. So eventually it reaches the PCIe card. Let's not waste any time for now. Why this one is not working? Maybe we will make it. No, I don't want to mess with this now because we might lose my audio comment. So I will not mess with this right now. But you should be getting signals from your device immediately. If it's turned on, and I'm seeing that mine is turned on, so I'm wondering why we don't get any signal, but well, let's forget about this for a second. The essential thing to do now is route every physical in and output available, or at least those you want to use, into a virtual ASIO device, which is then used to be selected in your DAW. So I activated a virtual ASIO device of 128 inputs, which matches the number of ins and outs of my PCIe card, of which I'm not using the entire capacity. So that's why this one will be delivering enough channels to aggregate everything from here. You can see it already. It's mirrored here because I routed it already. And the non-used channels of it can be used by the other one. So we only have 10 more here and 2 more here. So it's easily covered because I'm only using like half, not even half of the amount of channels on this PCIe card. So we have plenty of spare channels to allocate to the other physical audio devices. And well, how do we do that? We go into this menu and open the full matrix view. And I've already color-coded the physical devices. If you right-click and set a color for it, there are not a lot of colors, but it helps. So every device got his own color. It's not indicated once you choose, so there's no check mark also indicating which one you chose, but you can see they are color-coded. So the virtual 128 in-out device is like this blue color, and then baby face is purple, and the digital piano 2 channels ASIO. Even though it's using a 64 channel device, it just occupies the 2 channels it has physically. And what we are seeing here is the outputs of each device in this upper row, and the input of each device and the vertical columns. And then it's like, if you're familiar with Dante routing, you have Dante controller to route stuff purely in software by clicking into a grid with the mouse, just like here. So if I open up Dante controller, managing software of a Dante network, you only see Dante compatible devices, but you have the same principle of establishing subscriptions between devices by clicking into the grid of where you want to route stuff. So it's Dante outputs up here from different devices and Dante inputs of the same devices. And so, for instance, to route 20, output 20, is it 20? Yeah, 25. Dante output 25 of my Ferrofish Dante converter to whatever, like here, Dante virtual sound card on my main studio computer, channel 12 of 16 availables. I just would have to click here, and immediately the signal will flow, and correct subscription is shown by the green check mark. And immediately, if I click again, the subscription is removed and audio stops flowing. And you can see devices which are not capable of routing outputs to their own inputs. These are with the lighter blue. So I couldn't establish a connection between Dante virtual sound card output of my computer and its own input. But a lot of devices do allow to route their Dante outputs to their own Dante inputs, which can be very useful. So yeah, that's how a Dante network is looking and is managed. So it looks exactly the same here, but I noticed one thing, that is, if you open this for the first time after installation, you should swap the axis of this grid. The default setting is that you have inputs up here and outputs here, and the normal thing, whatever normal means, but for instance, the one used in Dante, the display setting, is that you have outputs here and inputs on the y-axis. So for consistency, I switched over to this setting, which creates less confusion for me. So we now see we can easily navigate through this grid, not only by scrolling, a little bit tedious, but rather by dragging this viewing square through the grid. And so essentially what I did is I routed all physical inputs of my physical Dante card in the computer into the virtual one by one. So Dante input 1 on the AIC card goes into virtual ASIO 1, and so on. So I'm using, like you can see, about 66 of the 128 input channels of the Dante card. That is plenty for me. So my talkback mic comes up here and other stuff. A Reaper master output, for instance. That's why we see my voice 2 times, a little bit delayed. So all my analog inputs of my Dante converter, so all my analog output gear comes up into here, into the virtual device. This is why we see the noise. This is 24 inputs on the Ferrofish A to D converter going into the Dante network, and then the next channels are spare channels of the A to D converter, and then other audio signals coming in via Dante, for instance, from my digital console. And then on the other hand, it goes up to 66 as we saw. And on the other hand, we have the outputs of the virtual ASIO device. So like Reaper DAW playback is sent out one by one into the physical one again. So it's all mirrored one by one. I probably don't need as many outputs as I need inputs. So this is why the output configuration already ends at 52, and that's probably plenty for outputs into the analog world. And then there's a few little routings going on for the baby phase and for the output of the digital piano. So let's see where this is going. Okay, we have it here. So I routed a stage piano digital output into the AIC card first, 47, 48. And from there, it will get forwarded via Dante into the virtual device. So that seems a little bit awkward and complex and confusing, but it turned out to be the way to go, to have it run with consistency. And the baby phase's outputs are going nowhere, actually. So I don't use these, but they will probably have some inputs. And we can see, yes, the physical Dante audio devices outputs 41, 42 will be feeding A.1 and 2 of the baby phase, the RME baby phase. And there's nothing else, I think, going into it. So that's all the routing I need. That doesn't seem a lot, but it helps a lot to have this now, everything available in Reaper. So before using this Matrix, I had Reaper using the AIC card as an ASIO device, and you had an input and output range configured here. As I did this screenshot after using the Matrix, the AIC card is now blocked by this app, the Matrix app, and so I cannot even choose it anymore. And now I'm using the Matrix 128 as my ASIO device in Reaper. It behaves just like a regular physical ASIO device. It is as stable and as reliable. I didn't have any dropouts. And even though I'm working at 128 samples, so Reaper is not requesting the block size or setting its own block size, but it's taking the one from the Matrix. So, and as you can see, I don't even use all the 128 channels of the virtual audio device either, only 68 and 36 outputs. So now going into Reaper, Reaper is recording all this session in the background in a background tab. So that's also something very neat, that it can now record in a background tab. And if we have a look at a channel input, I relabeled them all. So if I pick stereo, it's a shorter list. You can see all my analog hardware outputs come into here as inputs. And at some points I have effect returns. I have buses coming from my digital Yamaha desk via Dante, another PCM80 SPDIF return, Dante Virtual Sound Card returns, but also Reaper's own stereo main out is showing up into in here as an input. So I could record Reaper's main out, and that's actually what I'm doing in the other tab. And then if I have guests coming in and which have Dante Virtual Sound Card installed, they can do analog mixing via my studio gear by connecting to this Reaper, and this Reaper will forward it with my routing to my analog devices. So we can then do analog summing into SSL6s and stuff like that. So for instance, if I now just play back a stereo file, so I have to reduce my loudspeakers and put on my headphones to be able to listen to this without getting the signal into the mic. So I'm now monitoring through my digital console and can listen to the music without having the loudspeakers turned up. So if we open up the associated channel, which is AIMP, coming in via DVS left-right, so we can see it's playing right into Reaper now, which was not easily doable without this matrix. And let's see if we are lucky and I can now well, obviously I can record the signal immediately here digitally. So if we change the input to the P120A5, which is my stage piano, hopefully we now get a signal. No, we don't. So I may have to power cycle it to make it work again. That's what I will now do. I'm switching it off and on again. So as always, while demonstrating stuff like this, you may get something which doesn't work immediately. But okay, we see now it has been restarted, and it should come up actually again if USB is properly connected. Let's see. Let's renew it. So I selected. That looks okay, and if I hit it, now we can have the signal. So if I hit it now, we can see, and if we monitor. So that's something actually, because a device running on its own clock at 44.1 can now still play live and is sample rate converted and can be used inside the matrix routing. And this is remarkable. So as we can see, it shows up here. If I play, it actually comes in double, because the channels we see here is the keyboard itself and Reaper output probably, or something like that, next to it. So it reflects the same signal, but from multiple perspectives, let's say. So once you have this matrix set up the way you want to use it, you can save the whole thing into presets. I didn't do that yet. I'm not exactly sure how to do this. But what I did is I went to the main menu, and you can save settings, and that includes everything you set up here in the applications parameters and properties, and you save this somewhere. I call it AW Studio Standard Routing, and I saved it as an XML file. And so this file contains everything, all the settings and all the routing. You can check for routing. So if I click on an output like here, where the keyboard outputs signals, you will see this little arrow showing up where it's routed. So the input is, none of these is inputting something to this. But let's see, the baby faces input. Interesting. We cannot even see. It doesn't reveal the origin of this routing. Well, not a big deal, but normally if you click on something, you can see the origin or the destination for it. Doesn't seem to work here for some reason. But we do get a signal here for some reason, so something is routed to it. Maybe not via, well, obviously not via the Matrix own routing grid, but via Dante, for instance. Can still, it's probably, or not only probably, it's for sure, it's a Dante routing going on in Dante controller, which gets the signal from somewhere here to here, which is fine. So I can only encourage you to try this software. It runs entirely stable for now, for weeks, and it shows 268 inputs and 270 outputs currently. But as you saw here, it would be capable of doing 3016 ins and 3016 outs at the same time. So you can see the number of physical audio devices which can be connected, up to 512 channel ones, and another Windows physical devices, and then the virtual devices. And finally, the VBAN, virtual LAN audio, which I didn't engage here because I'm using Dante already as virtual networking audio, or not even virtual, but real networking audio. But you can click on this and enable VBAN, and then you can route by enabling a stream with a certain number of ins and outs, which can be configured by clicking on the channel count. You can configure 64 channel networking in out for a single of these entries, and even multiples of those. So you can have hundreds of virtual networking audio channels running through your studio between computers. The only thing is you need to specify a receiving IP address and a sending one, and then it will enable a VBAN device on this and on the other computer, and set it to online, and it will be routable as soon as you do this. I already tried this and it worked flawlessly. So and to some extent, it even conquers Dante networking audio, or any other networking audio format for that matter. It's just not as widespread and well known as Dante or other networking standards. But it was extremely reliable, and from there, once you have a VBAN device online and working, from there you can then aggregate its devices into your main ASIO, virtual ASIO device, and also use it in your DAW. So the possibilities are virtually endless, and the capacity is breathtaking. Stability is breathtaking. So as you can see, I'm running at 128 samples of buffer size, which wasn't even so stable when I used the Dante card as the main audio device. I had some glitches, but I did not get any glitches yet in this matrix, even though it is set to a 128 buffer size. Well, yeah, I can only encourage you to try this. It is nothing, or let's say it the other way around. ASIO for all is nothing compared to this. This is like a pro-grade, reliable software which can handle what it has on its label. And yeah, I'm very happy with it. And I got the license for it lately. After the 30-day trial period was over, I decided to donate. And yeah, I can. It's like the same price you would pay for a Dante virtual sound card license, so like $30 or something like that, $40. I think including taxes, it was 46 for me, but that's not so much of a problem in a professional context. I'm not sure how it's handled for private use. Maybe it's less restricted, but licensing is much less expensive for hobby individuals. So probably really fair price for what it does and for the quality you're getting. So yeah, that was the Coconut Matrix from VB Audio. And as you can see, I'm recording all sources right into my voiceover screen video tutorial template in Reaper, which enables me to, if I hit now stop on the external 4K grabber and in this project tab, I have a template which auto mixes everything. So that's what you will be hearing now is already an auto mixed version of this project here, where I just drop in the screen video file and align it to have it in sync with the audio. And I can then hit render, and I'll be then using AV Convert, my own little audio video context menu conversion tool for Windows, free, by the way, to losslessly mix this audio, synced audio, to the original screen video with no re-rendering necessary. So I can have the original 4K resolution dubbed with this auto-mixed audio. There's some kind of ducking going on between so sidechaining between my voiceover and any kind of background sound. So it will all automatically get ducked. So I have nothing to do but hit render once I drop in all the files. So it's very convenient to work. I could even include my logo. This would, however, include a re-rendering pass to include the overlay, which I won't do probably for this one. Okay, so thanks for watching. Hope you got intrigued by this software, really powerful. It's probably under the radar of a lot of people because it's also quite recent only, but still, be sure to check it out. And I hope it was a useful video for you. Thanks for watching.